Welcome to Mars. This is the fourth planet from the Sun and the second smallest in our solar system. The planet's red hue has long captivated the imagination of scientists, dreamers, and filmmakers alike. But how would you feel if I told you that by 2050 you could be living on Mars? It might sound crazy at first, but the possibility of colonizing another planet has become a reality. SpaceX and NASA have started making their plans for the first human missions to the Martian surface. There are many factors and significant obstacles to consider in these ambitious plans. Moving humans to an entirely different planet isn't a simple task, and is going to require us to come up with entirely new innovations, all while overcoming challenges and dangers. The amount of time, effort, and money being invested into this goal is truly enormous. But before we get into some details, let's start with the basic question. Why Mars? Mars is Earth's planetary neighbor. When compared to other celestial bodies, Mars is relatively close to us. The proximity makes it a perfect candidate for a potential colony. The journey to Mars could see astronauts traveling around 140 million miles and take approximately 7 months. But this depends on factors such as fuel utilization and planet alignment. The unique features of Mars make it the perfect planet for further exploration. The planet's geological characteristics like mountains, canyons, and volcanoes could hold insight into our own world, and even life beyond Earth. But possibly the most exciting is the presence of water on the red planet. Discoveries were made that there is currently water on Mars, and even though it's in the form of ice, it's a massive discovery. It means there could be a support system for Martian life, or eventually serve as a resource for future settlements. An established colony on Mars could act as a new scientific base. If a launch base for the colony were to be developed, Mars could act as a new launch pad for missions, reducing travel distance and time and extending our reach. Mars could essentially become a stepping stone to other planets and open more opportunities to interplanetary travel, and one day even lead us to have colonies on multiple planets. To grasp the current state of space exploration and truly appreciate the colossal ambitions behind colonizing Mars, let's take a quick look back in time to explore the history of Mars and the groundbreaking missions that have paved the way. Our fascination with Mars can be traced to ancient times when the planet was often associated with gods and mythology. However, it wasn't until 1610 that Mars was first observed through a telescope by Galileo Galilei. This observation founded a deep curiosity about the red planet in astronomers and scientists that's lasted centuries. Fast forward to the 20th century, and NASA began sending robotic missions to Mars. Landmark missions like Mariner and Viking have provided us with up-close pictures and valuable data about the planet. These missions gave us insights into Mars's geology, history, atmosphere, and even its potential to support life. It's been determined that Mars, despite its barren and rocky appearance today, had a vastly different landscape billions of years ago. At one point in time, Mars had liquid water. There were oceans, lakes, and rivers running. Since this water is needed to support life, the possibility of past life existing on Mars, even microbial, is a real one. By studying the planet up close, we have the chance to uncover clues about the evolution of planets and the potential for life beyond Earth. The information gathered from these missions has also fueled the ambition to actually send humans to the surface. This is where SpaceX and NASA became crucial players in the space race to colonize Mars. NASA is a household name around the globe. Since its establishment in 1958, the government space agency has been at the forefront of research and groundbreaking missions. At one point in time, people said that putting people on the moon was impossible, and in 1969, NASA's Apollo 11 mission did just that when Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the lunar surface. NASA's contributions to space exploration and commitment to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge have earned it a well-deserved spot as the leading space agency. SpaceX is at the forefront of privately owned space agencies. Since 2002, the company has built up a list of accomplishments nothing short of impressive. With hundreds of successful missions in the books, SpaceX has solidified its position as an industry trailblazer. The company's rockets have set records for things like weight and reusability. In fact, they are on track to break another record this year by launching 100 rockets, the most one space agency has ever launched in a single year. However, the company's ambitions are primarily on one goal: to develop a colony on Mars. However, with plans as big as moving a portion of humanity to another planet, it's inevitable that there will be challenges and setbacks. The journey to Mars will take approximately 7 months, but could be as short as 6 or as long as 9. On this trip, the astronauts on board will be faced with unique challenges that will come with the first interplanetary human flight, one of which is the prolonged isolation to be experienced. Confined to a spacecraft far from Earth, crews have to prepare for potential communication failures and equipment failures. While traveling between planets, long-term exposure to zero gravity is not something our bodies are designed for. After astronauts return from the ISS, they typically face some health challenges due to the sudden transition to gravity. On Earth, there's a team of scientists and doctors ready to help them. On Mars, no one will be waiting for them. Even though the gravity on Mars isn't as strong as Earth's, this isn't exactly ideal for the first crew to land on Mars. To counteract the effects, scientists are exploring a way to develop artificial gravity systems for spacecraft and possibly habitats. Once astronauts land on the Martian surface, more new dangers await them. Mars is prone to dust storms, and they are no joke. The storms can last weeks, and the moderate ones cover areas the size of a continent. The worst of them grow large enough to cover the entire planet. To add an extra complication to these storms, they're also electrostatic. As the dust particles rub together while being carried by the wind, they transfer electric charge between themselves. It's the same thing that happens when you wear socks and shuffle across a carpet. The dust is so intense it risks damaging equipment or communications, or at least rendering it useless for the duration of the storm. In 2008, NASA's InSight rover, which relied on solar power, was caught in one of these storms. The dust was too thick for any sunlight to reach the rover's solar panels. After running out of power in survival mode and being unable to charge, it ran out of power for good. To better prepare for the challenges that come with Mars colonization, research is being done to find ways to mitigate them. NASA, for example, has created one-year-long simulation missions here on Earth to try and replicate life on the Red Planet. The crew is living in a 1,700-square-foot 3D printed habitat, complete with red sand and murals of Martian landscapes. By simulating the various difficulties like equipment failures, communication delays, and limited resources, the hope is to gain insight into the long-term effects on people's health and performance levels while living on Mars. Now, the crucial step in colonizing Mars is actually getting there. Sending astronauts to Mars requires more than just your average rocket. SpaceX's Super Heavy rocket is one of the world's most powerful operational rockets. Paired with the Starship spacecraft, the two are collectively referred to as Starship. NASA's Orion spacecraft has also been built to carry people out beyond Earth's low orbit. This is the spacecraft that is set on taking people to the Martian surface. These rockets will play an instrumental role in transporting crew and supplies to Mars. Reaching Mars is merely the beginning. The landing rocket will need to serve as a base camp, at least temporarily, while astronauts conduct initial research and set up housing. Creating a sustainable colony on Mars is an enormous undertaking. Astronauts will need habitats capable of shielding them from radiation, extreme temperatures, and low pressure, not to mention the severe lack of oxygen. Research is currently being done on what the best materials could be for the habitats. As the foundation of a long-term colony, the habitats need to be practical for housing people, plants, equipment, and conducting research. One material that's being tested is aerogel. Aerogel is the world's lightest solid material and is often described as the best insulating material there is. Because of its thermal insulating properties, it's believed that aerogel could possibly help melt the ice water on Mars into liquid water. But it's a little pricey, at around $23,000 per pound. The colony wouldn't be able to rely on food from Earth forever. Establishing some type of Mars-based food source will likely be one of the top priorities. Space agencies from multiple different countries have been experimenting with space agriculture and even growing plants and vegetables on the ISS. The current options for agriculture on Mars are vertical farms or even soil-free options like aeroponics. The ultimate goal is to have the farms be operated by robots, running entire farming systems without the actual farmers. To ensure long-term survival and set up humans as an interplanetary species, there are ideas to terraform Mars. If you don't know what terraforming is, it's when you take another planet and modify its atmosphere, temperature, and environment. Basically, try to turn it into Earth so it can support Earth life. In order to terraform Mars, there are two major steps. The first is to change the planet's temperature, and this is surprisingly the easy part. It would be relatively simple and take an estimated 100 years. We'd be putting Mars through global warming, but at a rapid pace and on purpose this time. The second step is the hard part, transforming the atmosphere to be more protective and have enough oxygen so people and eventually animals will be able to freely breathe. This part is much more complicated and extremely difficult. Without an immense technological breakthrough, changing the air on Mars would take around 100,000 years, so colonists would be spending some time in spacesuits until then. The man behind SpaceX, Elon Musk, has declared that he wants there to be 1 million people on Mars by 2050. To achieve this would mean creating a small city of habitats, developing self-sufficiency, and a lot of rocket trips. To put it into perspective, it would be as if you took every person living in San Jose, California, and placed them on the Martian surface, all within the next 27 years. SpaceX and NASA are major players in the race to Mars, with both space agencies aiming to put people on the red planet within the next decade. NASA intends for a crew to reach Mars in the early 2030s, and SpaceX has stated sending a mission to Mars might even be possible in the next 5 years. But with other space agencies across the globe also with their sights set on Mars, the space race is getting a little crowded. But multiple space agencies all working towards actually getting people on the red planet is not a bad thing. What it could mean is that if we get to a point of colonization, eventually there might be separate colonies on Mars acting as an extension of their home country. While pursuing individual plans, NASA, SpaceX, and some of the other space agencies around the globe also recognize that they have shared goals and that collaboration will only help in achieving them. The idea of colonizing Mars is an exciting future where exploration and collaboration propel us forward. Turning the thought of Martian colonization into a reality will help us unlock the mysteries of the universe and secure a future and place for people among the stars. Overall, colonizing Mars is an ambitious project that requires significant investment and effort. However, the potential benefits of colonizing Mars, such as ensuring the survival of our species and propelling our scientific outreach, make this goal an exciting one. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment. Let me know if you would ever move to another planet, or even go visit Mars for a few years if that becomes a possibility one day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on our next trip into space.